Welcome back. You tuned into the Wednesday edition of your most favorite breakfast show, Good Morning Namibia. We are coming to you live from Platz Amer Shopping Center in beautiful Swakopmund. I'd also like to again thank Mr. Michael Coleman and his team at Homekorf Swakopmund for our set furniture. Now, in times of a pandemic such as the coronavirus, many things happen at breakneck speed, leading to panic at times and taking its toll on our mental state in particular. The toll can be particularly devastating for those in the heat of the battle. Healthcare workers, as first responders, work at the front line, having to deal with their own anxieties and that of those they are taking care of. In such cases, such as these, the need for psychosocial support is more pronounced than ever because of panic and depression due to COVID-19. Now, in the Irongo region, that need for especially health workers is even more dire as the region underwent a hard lockdown and suffered greatly during especially the third wave. Here to share experiences are health workers, Ms. Petronella Gaeses and Ms. Olivia Shitjeni, district social workers from the mighty Irongo region. Good morning, ladies, and welcome to Good Morning Namibia.
Good morning, Denver.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning, ma'am?
We should say we are fine.
Under the circumstances?
Yes.
Yeah. How are you holding up, ma'am?
No, we are coping. Yes, we're doing well.
Ms. Gaeses, now on the 10th of July 2020, about 116 days after the index cases of COVID-19 were reported in Namibia, we recorded our first death of a 45-year-old man at Walvis Bay. In the 2 weeks that ensued after that day, 8 more deaths were recorded. What was it like to be working in the Irongo region at the time?
I would say it was not easy. It was very, very stressful. It was emotionally draining. It was demanding because when we speak of loss, we don't only just focus on the loss of loved ones, but we also look at it in a broad term such as employment. We look at it in the terms of freedom. Some rights, human rights, fundamental human rights were taken away. So it was really a time of uncertainty. There was a lot of anger coming from the community towards the healthcare workers. There was mistrust because of the constantly changing information, and also the fact that people sometimes don't consult evidence-based resources where they get their information from, but then they get information just from any person, and that caused mistrust, confusion. So it was really a time where we are facing just a lot of panic attacks, anxiety, depression, stress.
Now, on the front lines, you are human beings yourselves. How did you cope on a professional and on a personal level?
On a personal level and professional level, and as healthcare workers, we went into the state of putting our self-care as an emergency and as an essential part of our lives. Because only when we are better and when we take care of ourselves, then can we offer our professional services to the following people and to the community as well. So we started using an approach of whereby as much as we are empathetic, we also needed to come back to ourselves and be aware of ourselves, what triggers us, and how can we then cope, what are some of the coping things that we can do, put in place to be able to cope, because despite losing not only our relatives and being affected, we also were experiencing as human beings with the loss and the time of uncertainty that we are facing and going through.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Ma'am, what was your experience like? Please walk us through that experience.
Well, it was really not an easy time because it was full of uncertainty, confusion, exhaustion from the healthcare workers. It was really just draining, and we were understaffed, and it was pretty much sometimes not easy, but you had to pull through on a daily basis. Yes.
Has a lot changed since then? Or is there still exhaustion? Is there still anxiety and panic?
At the moment, we will say a bit has changed because it's not as exhausting as it was in the third wave now. But should the fourth wave come again, come and the same pressure approaches us, then I believe that the team will be a little more equipped to know how to deal with the situation. Yes.
Are you still concerned?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah.
Ms. Gaeses, you touched on your own coping mechanisms during that time. Please share some coping mechanisms with us.
So the coping mechanisms that were in place and that we were advising the community and healthcare workers was be selfish with your mental health. Yes, it's very important that you take care of your mental well-being, because once you are exhausted, you cannot produce the kind of services that you would like to. So be selfish with your mental health, and also self-care. Self-care was an essential part of us coming this far. Self-care in terms of getting enough bed rest, eating right, making sure you are doing those hobbies that give you excitement and that brings you happiness, exercising, making sure you stay in touch with your family, with your loved ones, because communication is also very important when it comes to the relationship we have with our family members, because these are our immediate support persons. And also, we were discouraging more of the unhelpful coping mechanisms, such as the substance use. Yeah. And also, since we are here by the beautiful view and scenery, we would also advise people just to go for a walk or go jog along the beach, or just come and sit and watch the waves. Because different people have different ways in which they cope with stressful factors. But the bottom line is we're ensuring that you cope with and deal with whatever is stressing you, so that it does not overwhelm you. But if it was getting too much for them to cope, we'd always refer them to the social workers or psychologists for professional services.
Be selfish with your mental health.
Be very selfish with your mental health. I cannot overemphasize that fact. Be very selfish with your mental health.
Ms. Shitjeni, coping mechanisms during a time of bereavement or sickness, what do those look like? What coping mechanisms would you advise to someone who's going through bereavement or who's taking care of a sick person or who might be ill themselves?
Well, that individual or those people should really, as my colleagues say, they should not... they should be selfish with their mental health. First, you need to take care of yourself, take care of your feelings. You need to really you need to take care of yourself first for you to be able to take care of the other person. And in terms of bereavement, they need to seek for counseling as well, for them to be encouraged, to be guided by the counselor or the social worker as to how to deal with the person that is going through bereavement.
What is particularly difficult is, at some stage during the regulations that are enforced to curb the further spread of COVID-19, the cap on the number of people to attend a public gathering was 10, then 50, etc. So it was also very difficult to render support, and we're wearing masks, and we're supposed to be at least 1 meter apart. So it was also very difficult to support one another within the community or even within a family. How does one cope under those circumstances?
Okay, well, with coping, since we are really we are different people with different, ways of coping to different situations. It is highly recommendable that people indulge in activities that will help them unwind of those situations that they are finding themselves in. Healthy activities such as exercising, spending more time with the family. But now in cases where COVID has put up all these regulations, it has been really difficult.
Thank you.
People have been just confined, in their homes, in places where they can't really go. They can have big gatherings, like a family gathering, to discuss issues and whatnot.
Thank you very much. Yes. Your brief concluding remarks, please, ma'am.
I would say life changes constantly, and we are in a time of revolution and evolution. Things will eventually change. And what we picked up during our time was the resistance to change can be very deadly. So people should be open to change, and they should be willing to take on new challenges and go with the flow. Take it one day at a time. Live in the moment for the moment, and self-sustainability in terms of gardening and things. This is not just an option anymore as we witness in the third wave. It is now more of an essential, it's a must to have things such as self-sustainability.
Thank you. Your brief concluding remarks, please, ma'am.
Yes, we'll just love to encourage the public, our families, colleagues, and everyone else really just to adhere to the measures put in place. Let's mask up, let's keep the social distancing, let's just practice all these protocols put in place to stay safe.
Thank you very much. You need to stay safe too. Yes. We need you as social workers.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Yes. Erongo Regional District social workers, Petronella Gaeses, as well as Olivia Shitjeni, teaching us about healthy coping mechanisms. We'll be right back after a brief break. Welcome back on this gift of a Wednesday, 22 December 2021. This is your flagship breakfast show, Good Morning Namibia, coming to you live from Platz am Meer in Swakopmund. And as I said earlier, the view from our office is not too shabby this morning. Let's take a look what you can expect during the final part of Good Morning Namibia. We'll be taking an insert about a DRC project that is a non-governmental organization that takes kids off the streets and enriches their lives with a lot of fun and provides them with a range of educational opportunities. Finally, we wrap up things with sport, and for that interview, we will be speaking to Gerald Guter, the head coach and technical director at the SFC Swakopmund Sport Club, who will be speaking to us about their annual Christmas Cup. What all of this means is, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a short break.